Okay, welcome again to Masculinity and Mental Health Summit. This time round, we have in Justin Leit. Welcome, Justin.
Hi. How are
It's
you?
great to have you here. Thank you very much. Justin Leit is an international recognized hypnotherapy trainer, owner of Hypnosis New Zealand, and creator of the Golden Thread Trauma Transformation Protocol. Justin is an expert in using hypnotherapy to help clients overcome anxiety, depression, and PTSD, where she specializes in using trauma-informed hypnotherapy to help clients manage anxiety and depression. Justin has helped hundreds of clients overcome these issues and lead happier, more fulfilling lives. Justin's expertise in trauma-informed hypnotherapy has made her a sought-after speaker and trainer, delivering workshops and seminars internationally. Her passion for helping others improve their life through hypnotherapy has led her to create the Golden Thread Trauma Transformation Protocol, a unique approach that combines hypnotherapy with cutting-edge neuroscience. Justin, welcome.
Thank you very much. That's a long bio.
So I would like to find out more about that organization that you mentioned. Is that you have a business that is regulating hypnotherapies in New Zealand?
Yeah. So basically, I run an organization called Hypnosis New Zealand, and what we do with Hypnosis New Zealand, or what I do, is create a community first for hypnotherapists, so that they actually have a place where they can talk. And just have people to run things past, when we are seeing clients. And also for me, it's about providing what we call a bit of regulation. So hypnosis and hypnotherapy is not regulated in New Zealand, Australia, quite a lot of countries around the world. There are some regulations in like the States. So if you were going to call yourself a hypnotherapist, you have had to do some kind of degree in either, psychology, psychiatry, something like that, but you can be a clinical hypnotist. So for me, hypnosis itself and hypnotherapy is mostly, a very safe thing to do, but there are some techniques, of course, the more advanced stuff where we do regression and things like that, that for me, I don't, knowing about the mind, knowing about trauma, that I don't think it is a safe thing that people can just learn something online, without any supervision and go out and do it. And when we do call ourselves a hypnotherapist, there's vulnerable people coming to see us. So for me, it's Hypnosis New Zealand is a way of kind of regulating. So people sign up and join, and by joining, they run under our kind of code of ethics and our umbrella. And then when we work with government organizations and things like that too, the places that we work with know that our members have trained to a high level and continue to train, and also, are safe for people. So a lot of the time when I do speak at hypnotherapy conferences, I speak a lot on actually safety and what's going on in the brain when we do some of the things that we do. It is incredibly powerful. Like I said, most hypnosis and hypnotherapy is very, very safe, but for me it's about providing a safe space for someone that comes in if they've experienced trauma. And I mean, everybody that comes in has got stuff,
Yeah,
so that's what ATNZ is.
I agree. Very important. Very, very important. So tell us a little bit about you and your own journey on helping people through hypnotherapy.
Through hypnotherapy. Well, I always get asked this question, and it's really interesting because most people that come into hypnosis or hypnotherapy, especially a lot of my students, they come in because they've been helped themselves. So, they've gone to a hypnotherapist or they've had the magic happen and it's changed their life so much, they've become so passionate that they want to go and do it. So quite a lot of my clients end up becoming my students and then becoming my colleague, which is really, really neat. But my journey I've always been into, holistic healthcare, massage therapist, and, the normal, when you're into healthcare, you kind of go through things. But my journey kind of came from watching other people close to me experience very serious trauma. very serious, like high level trauma. And by watching the way they were treated through the normal mainstream system, especially for trauma and abuse, it really didn't help. Like, I ended up seeing family members very close to me actually getting symptoms of things like PTSD from being made to talk about things. And you know, what I was seeing just wasn't working, to the point that I was actually quite shocked. So I started looking from there into the mind and other techniques. And of course, I got to witness a lot going through the things that I'd seen. And that's what set me on a journey to how can we help these people that have gone through really horrific stuff, which is what I work with now. And even when I started my hypnotherapy journey, a lot of the techniques I was taught, it was fine for everyday people, but I had people coming in, women, men, that had been through the most horrific abuse, childhood abuse that you can imagine. And the techniques I was taught, there's no way you could use, even though they were really effective, I couldn't use them on those people. I couldn't take them back to scenes where things had happened. And that was kind of a lot of the stuff I was taught. So from there, I kind of learned more about the brain, learned more about what was going on, and started creating ways to work with people where the magic would happen, but in a way where they never had to re-experience trauma, where they never even had, they don't even have to talk to me. Like, people come in that have had the most, you know, harshest stuff happen to them, and I never find out, because we can work now in a way with how is it playing out in your life now and what sensations are coming in. So like I said, my journey didn't start from me experiencing hypnotherapy. It started from me experiencing you know, people around me having had a lot of things happen to them, and how can I help them. And then of course it became a massive passion to get out, and then how to teach. So I teach organizations like rape crisis, suicide prevention, lots of those kind of organizations. I go in now and teach them how to work with their clients in a way that's very safe for the brain, so that then they don't walk their trauma or walk their story every day. Yeah, and it doesn't need to be like that. We've got a lot of knowledge in trauma and stuff now that we can work in a really good way. So that's kind of how I got into this stuff. Yeah.
Tell us more about, I mean, being honest, I approach hypnosis as in somebody's going to take control of my mind, and I'm not going to let that happen. I remember I had a friend of mine who wanted to hypnotize me, and I guess that I actually went through that, but I was probably resistant to the idea. So tell us more about hypnosis and hypnotherapy.
I'll talk first about hypnosis. So it is quite fun, and I do play with people. Like if you were talking to me and you came up to me in like an expo or something and said, you know, yeah, I don't want mind control, I'll just look at you in the face and say, it's already done. You know, so I usually do play with people. But really, hypnosis is, you know, you do see the things on stage, and those things on stage are really funny and they are real, but you got to remember, the people with hypnosis, we can't make people do things they don't want to be, or they don't want to be doing. If for any reason the fear response, or the, you know, fight, flight, or the nervous system came up, you know, maybe they were on stage doing something silly and they noticed someone laugh and it kind of made them nervous, they'd snap out of it in a second. So most people that get up on stage and do fun stuff are generally fun people anyway. So, you know, maybe if they'd had a few drinks, they would probably be a bit of the clown, you know. So but with hypnosis, the cool thing to understand is that we go in and out of hypnosis all day. So or altered states, really, hypnosis, you know, the altered states. So if there's anything that you're doing in your life that you don't want to be doing, but you can't stop doing it, or you find yourself doing it, like say someone, you know, goes into the kitchen and eats heaps of biscuits and they don't want to, and then they snap out of it and we're back in the room, that is hypnosis. Yeah. If you're losing time in your day at work where you're sending all these emails and you go home and you don't actually remember what you did, it's hypnosis. Your mind is going and imagining and doing other things, like thinking about the weekend or thinking about something that happened in the past, but yet your body is still following through. And so hypnosis is something that we're all doing all day. So everybody that comes to see me, we do, hypnosis. For me, it happens all the time. And a lot of the time, the hypnosis that happens with me in the clinic, the person's eyes are open, the whole closing your eyes and relaxing down and counting to 10. What I call a more old school hypnosis is not really all the time what you experience in a session. And even with me in a first session, you'll be pretty lucky if you get that little bit of eyes closed relaxation where I talk to you. We actually do some really good work where we kind of dance together, if that makes sense. So hypnosis is totally 100% a choice. Like if I said to you right now, close your eyes, and you said, nah, well, you're going to close your eyes. But you know what I mean? If I said to you, see, I'll be able to work with you very easy. But like if I said to you, close your eyes, and just the rapport wasn't there, or maybe the environment, or for some reason, the trust wasn't there 100%, and you didn't want to close your eyes, I can't make you close your eyes, so it's totally 100% to do with trust in us working together, you know what I mean? And it's intention. Yeah, totally. And people don't pay good money to come and see me to not close their eyes. So when I am working with someone, a lot of the more, there's people that do come in, they're choosing to come in, maybe they've had depression and stuff, but they're kind of getting to a point now where I've had enough. So they will come in on their own. When I'm working with people that are sent through mental health and stuff, it can be a little bit different, because a lot of the time they're told. And so in that case, for me, it's just about, getting to know them, getting them to feel safe with me and know that I'm on their side and I'm not going to make them do anything. And once that's there, the magic happens. And as for the fun side of hypnosis and hypnotherapy, a lot of hypnotists or hypnotherapists don't like talking about it, but for me it's fun. I have friends that we might go out and the trust is, and we're friends, they trust that I'd never do anything to hurt them, so I can make them do funny things when we're out, or see a dog that's not there and stuff, and at the same time it's totally because our relationship is at a place that they know that I would never do anything to hurt them. And so their mind will follow along. But if I broke that trust by, making them do something they didn't want to do, then of course that game would be over. So I'm not going to do that because it's fun. But yeah, hypnosis is, it's something that happens. And like I said, we are living so many trances of our past. So a lot of our behaviors we do, a lot of our thoughts, our beliefs, they're all kind of put on us from a young age. So for me, hypnosis is not programming people's minds or putting things into their minds. For me, hypnosis is about lifting off trances, or I call it waking actually people up. So my job is actually to wake people up out of trances, the trance of depression, or the trance of I'm not good enough because my parent, stuff happened when I was young. So, for me, it's like, what are we doing? Are we hypnotizing people, or are we bringing them out? For me, making them whole again. If someone came to me to stop drinking alcohol, my job, the way I see it, I'm not going to stop them drinking alcohol, but what I'm going to do is give them a choice. So if they're drinking alcohol and they don't want to, they're going into the kitchen, a sensation or something's come over their body, discomfort for whatever reason, it's causing them to go on and drink to move away from discomfort. There's no choice in it. And then afterwards they beat themselves up, and why can't I stop? For me, I want someone to be in a place where they can go into a kitchen and look at wine or whatever and ask themselves, do I actually want this? And if it's a no, that they can walk away. And if it's a yes, sweet, well, at least you're consciously choosing. And after that, it's your choice. But a lot of the time, the things that we do, it's not our choice. It's always caused by past experience. So that's how it works with hypnosis.
It's giving me the cue for the next question, because I know that you mentioned that, you know, treating anxiety and depression, most of us go for, well, probably we start with this being self-medicated, and alcohol is one of those, or any kind of drug that, you know, alleviate whatever situation we are encountering in the moment. But you're talking about trauma, personality, memories that have not been processed properly in the brain, and that's where you come up with your own technique. I've heard that you make a combination between hypnotherapy and neuroscience, and you have something called the Golden Thread Trauma Transformation Protocol. Can you tell me more about those things?
So what I'll do is I actually talk about the mind a little bit. So I like to, I teach all my clients this every time I speak at a conference. It doesn't matter who I'm around, even friends sometimes. I like to talk to people about who we are and what I call our hot moments. Now, our hot moments are when we get triggered. And when we get triggered, we act out, whether that be, you know, going to alcohol, screaming, reverting and not wanting to talk to people. You know, those times in our life where we don't even know what set us off, but suddenly we feel anxious, suddenly we feel depressed, or we can't go in a room. That's what I call hot moments. And when I work with people, no matter what it's for, I might work for someone like I've done top level sports people, or the mental illness, anxiety, depression, weight loss. It doesn't matter what I work with. I always work with the same thing. And this is memories that are not processed correctly in the brain. So if we kind of go into it, every decision we make in our life is based on a sensation that comes up in our body, right? So if we wanted to even just start running, but before we started running, when we thought about running, we had a really uncomfortable yuck sensation come over our body, the chances of us going out for a run is probably pretty slim. You know, if we wake up and have a shitty sensation in our body, we're probably going to make decisions based on that, you know, whether we get to work late on time, whether we eat healthy, who we talk to, all of those things. You know, a lot of our decisions in our life are based on how we feel. And when people come to see me, it's usually they come to see me when their nervous system is overwhelmed, you know, so they come to me with depression, anxiety. But people that come to see me don't come to see me when they've gone to, you know, a psychiatrist and they've been given meds for anxiety and they've worked, right? I don't work with people where the therapy they've had has worked. I work with people that have done everything and it hasn't worked. And so if someone was diagnosed with generalized anxiety and they took medication for it and it was really that, the anxiety will come down and they'll get on and be able to do things. But a lot of the time I work with people that are on different medications or they've tried all these different techniques and nothing's working. Or say people for weight loss, they've tried every diet, but no matter what they do and they're exercising, the weight is staying on, which to me can be seen as a nervous system overwhelm. Body just presents in weight. And what's actually going on, like I said, is these memories. So we've got different kinds of memories in our mind. We have explicit memories, and these memories, this will blow your mind by the end of it. It's worth waiting to listen. We have explicit memories. Now, explicit memories are memories that are stored correctly in the brain. So maybe you're walking in a garden and you see a flower and it reminds you instantly of your grandma's garden, and you know it's your grandma's garden and you feel good. So that's an explicit memory. We have access to them. We're not always remembering them, but you know, if someone said, you remember the car you used to have, it's there, right? Those are explicit memories. And funnily enough, a lot of big T traumas, the ones that we would call traumas, tend to be explicit. And so a lot of the mainstream ways of working can actually work with those quite well. You know, we can use the cognitive brain, the thinking brain, to get those memories out and to change them around or take the energy off them. But what happens is when people come to me, they're overwhelmed and overloaded with what we call implicit memories. And these are memories stored in the nervous system. These are what I call trauma memories. And what happens, so these implicit memories, like I said, they don't tend to be big T trauma memories. What happens is you know, you might walk into a room and then all of a sudden, for no reason at all, you suddenly have a beating chest, or what you would call anxiety, or a sick stomach, and you don't know why. But what's actually happened is your brain is always scanning, your mind is always scanning the environment to keep you safe. And like I said, when something triggers an explicit memory, that memory will pop into your head. But when an implicit memory is triggered, it's stored in our brainstem. And what that does is when that memory is triggered, it fires a signal down through our nervous system to our part of our body, which fires up. So a lot of the time when people come into me with anxiety and depression and stuff, it's not anxiety, depression. It's they've got an overwhelm of these memories firing up. Interestingly more, they can fire up in more of the pain center of the brain. So I can work with people that I've worked with people before that haven't been able to walk, and it actually literally was a cluster of memories stuck in more of the pain part of the brain. So when we released it out of that part of the nervous system, they just got up and walked. I had someone that couldn't walk and was on crutches, and she literally walked out and sent me like a year later. Wow. Still walking, but it was a trauma response. So yeah, so if we kind of go back a bit, yeah, so we've got these memories that are firing up all the time that sends signals down into our body. Even more so, this is where it gets even more interesting. This is where I'm going to go back to who we are in our hot moments, because it really helps you to understand your life, especially if you have personalities that tend to come out, or you might be a calm, cool, collected guy, and then you go home and you go into your kitchen and the wife looks at you and you scream, and you don't want to scream, you don't want to be angry, you don't know why you're like that, but boom, you're like that, and then you walk away and you can't even explain who you are, you know. So what happens when you have an overwhelm of these memories is they haven't passed through a part of the brain, which we call it time stamping. There's a part of the brain that when the information goes into our mind and is sorted out, it puts it into the past. And so when you hear about, you know, people having experiences and their body's still reliving it, this is what's happening to us with these memories. So, you know, when you think you might go into a room and you get triggered and suddenly you have this anxiety, what happens then is your brain or your mind becomes the age where that memory got stuck, which is usually very young. And so the response that happens when that feeling is there will be very different to you now. We call it hijacking in trauma-informed therapy. A personality, and I call these trauma personalities, they hijack you and they act out and they perform until you're safe, and then they revert back. And over time, if these personalities get, it sounds crazy, but we've all got them. If these personalities are getting triggered all the time, sometimes when we end up, when I work with people that are in that victim mode, or, you know, they're living their trauma, it's because they've either been triggered so much, or they've spent so much talking about stuff that happened to them with that feeling there, that trauma personality has stepped forward and the 45-year-old has now stepped back. And that's what's happening quite a lot. So yeah, so when I talk about trauma personalities and when I talk about memories, pretty much everybody I work with, well, everybody, and I work with people that can't leave the room, I work with people that can't wear clothes, I work with people with different personalities, you know, the works. It's to me, by the time they get to me, like I'm saying, they don't come to me if someone takes mental health, you know, medications, and it helps them, then yes, there is a part of the brain for them that maybe is not getting enough oxygenated blood or not firing properly. But like I said, those people, you know, they're feeling good, the meds are helping them and stuff, or therapy is helping, but when they come to me, nothing's working. And yeah, so even if someone comes to me for, like I had a guy recently who was an incredibly confident guy, but he had to do one job in his work, and that job he couldn't do. He'd just sit in the car nervous. right? So and it was like, and when we did the work, and we found out what personality, it was a young personality, and so we were able to shift that very quickly. But yeah, so even
So I was going to ask you a question. Forgive me, I interrupted you. So as you said, there are people who manage to regulate by medicating, whether it is on prescription or not on prescription, and but the problem remains there. How?
Yeah.
And then that's where probably we go after you and ask, well, listen, I feel good, but I probably don't want to be hooked to this kind of medication for the rest of my life. Or I've been trying to get out of it, but I come back every time, after a week of cold feet or how you call it, cold turkey.
Yeah.
I'm back on having these kind of behaviors that I don't know where they're coming from. So
yeah.
do you help people to transition?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. For me, so the way I see it, I've done a lot of training in the mind, and personally, I'm not anti medications for people that need it, but yeah, a lot of things affect our mind and our health, and so of course you might be on something for ages that helped at first and you don't need it anymore. So there are reasons why people might choose to jump off or try new things. But yeah, I tend to see people for absolutely anything, and these implicit memories, we all have them. Like I said, if we kind of go into how they're stored, it's really interesting, because you kind of really get the big picture once you learn how they're stored. So with these implicit memories, like I said, we all have them. When we have an overwhelm of the nervous system, meaning that we've got a lot of these memories in the background, we've got a lot of, our nervous system is wired. This is when people come to me, and they either come to me with pain, weight gain, or mental illness, which I put addictions under there. But to me, it's all the same thing when I work with people, but we all tend to present in a different way. So you might have someone that's, overweight and calm and chilled out and happy as, but they just can't shift weight. You might have someone coming in that's really anxious or something like that, or you have someone coming in with fibro. To me, it's like the nervous system is overwhelmed, and so we need to work on these memories. When we're working with brainstem memories, when these memories fire up and that personality comes forward and takes over, our frontal lobe, or our thinking part of our brain, shuts off. So any of the modalities that use our thinking part of the brain, like traditional hypnosis, when we do hypnosis on brain scans, our frontal lobe fires up like a Christmas tree. And so, of course, we do tackle memories, and we can work through and clear things, but they're generally explicit memories. So a lot of the modalities we do, where it causes us to relax and breathe and calm our nervous system down, these brainstem memories just hide away. They're not there, because that only comes when we're triggered and fired up. So of course the way I work is really triggering people and then switching those memories very quickly. But just to give you, like I said, every client that comes to see me learns exactly about these memories, because it's so empowering. So how these memories kind of get stored is, we have a normal cycle, a trauma cycle or an arousal cycle that we go through every day when we're wound up. So someone might yell at us or something might happen and we get fired up, and we have a system that kicks in that protects us, run away, fight, know what's going on. And then another system comes in and kind of calms us down, the parasympathetic, and we go about our day. And if that system or that cycle finished, completed, then that memory would be stored correctly, put in the back of our mind, and we'd go home. And if we thought about the person that yelled at us, we'd probably think, oh, they're a dick, maybe get a bit annoyed, but we'd go about our day. So that's a normal cycle. What happens with these memories, and the reason why it happens very young, is something will happen that fires us up. That's a threat. And at that moment, we can't run away, we can't fight, but we don't have the emotional resources. And this is it. This is what gets it stuck. The emotional resources to understand what's going on. So generally, if I did take someone back to the moment a memory got stuck, it's usually, under 10, under 7, or the death of someone without saying goodbye. It's most 80% of men that come to see me for anything goes back to the death of someone without saying goodbye, even when they're 2 or 3 and losing a grandparent. Huge for men. And it doesn't need to be now 20. So what happens is, like, imagine that, a young kid, wakes up in a cot in the middle of the night for the first time in the dark, and they wake up, mum and dad's not there, there's no one there, and they freak out, right? So the mind, goes into overwhelm. They look around, they can't run away from the situation, they can't fight it. Maybe they scream because they're a baby, but they don't have the emotional resources to understand that mum and dad's just next door. And so at that moment, the mind will scan the area, maybe put their little teddy bear and the cot into their mind. But because the brain was flooded with all of these runaway chemicals, the information coming in got stuck in the brainstem. And that's the start of the implicit memory, the start. So maybe the start was 2, but maybe the next day, the kid wakes up and they have the day, but at night time, they get put to bed and their mind, that's always scanning for threats and dangers, spots the teddy bear from last night and they scream. Okay. And the kid's like, why is, the parents are like, why is this kid anxious? But what's worse from there is maybe the mind will scan again and put new triggers on, and a new trigger might be mum's jacket, and so the next day when they wake up, they go into the kitchen, there's mum's jacket, scream again. So this is kind of the cycle of how, that's a very extreme example, but this is how an implicit memory happens. So every time that memory or cluster of memories is opened up and triggered, your brain is always assessing whether you're safe or not, and then putting new triggers on it. And then, of course, the feeling gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And then they'll say, oh, it's an anxious kid, or, it's a depressed kid. I don't know what happened. It's never experienced anything bad. Because, like I said, it's always stuck by little moments where we don't have emotional resources. Maybe you're going to school for the first time and the kid wasn't told that mum and dad's coming back, and suddenly they're at a gate and they're alone. It tends to be very small things. But that small thing, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and we have lots of them, and that's when our nervous system gets quite overwhelmed. So, when we're older, like I said, say that 2-year-old, you might have, someone that's 30 or 40, and suddenly their mind senses something in the environment, a trigger related to that time, and boom, the feeling comes up, and suddenly they have a response of like a 2-year-old. They might start crying or doing things that they'd never done before. And this is what explicit memories do. From there, of course, an explicit memory I'll give you an example. I worked with a lady quite a few years ago now, but I love her case. I might have told you, where I worked with a lady she came to see me because she was in her 70s. She was going into the kitchen at nighttime and grabbing biscuits, going into her bed, hiding under the blankets and eating biscuits. Now, she was alone in the house and her husband had died, not that long ago. So there was no reason for her to be hiding in the bed, right? So, of course, she thought maybe I was going a bit, senile or what was going on, but it was so out of character. And I hear this all the time. But what was happening was she was triggering, that being alone in the house was triggering an implicit memory from being young. And that young girl was coming out and doing what she did, which was going to the kitchen, having the biscuits, hiding in the bed, keeping herself safe, and then she'd wake up. And so a lot of the things that we do in our life are these personalities. And when I talk to someone, I can see immediately in their eyes who I'm talking to instantly. The eyes just, when the memory gets triggered, the eyes flood over and I can see straight away whether I'm talking to you or whether I'm talking to a personality. And then, of course, we can switch them incredibly easy ourselves at home. So, if people are drinking, if people are feeling depressed or down or don't know who they are, and it involves a sensation in their body, it's most likely most people are walking and just switching all the time. And so even if you wanted to be healthy, and even if you wanted to feel good, you know, say like I'm 45 and I might want to be the 45-year-old Justy, might want to be getting out and run and, you know, running and all of this kind of stuff. If there's a sensation that comes over me, like I worked with people for normal stuff like exercise motivation. And when they think about exercise, they're like, oh, a horrible feeling comes over. And we take them back to a moment in school when they fell over in a race or, you know, something little. Yeah, so we're all going through life with these personalities popping out. And
So
yeah,
when I guess that we go to you when we realize that there's certain behaviors that we realize that it keep coming up to us that we don't like, that we feel very uncomfortable, that cause some sort of impact that you didn't want, and then here we are in this mess, and it happened again, and it happened again, and you take, eventually you say, well, I'm the common denominator here, I better do something about it, and takes 100% responsibility and go to someone like you and say, well, this is the problem that I have.
Yeah,
now, we start from that premise, and then you take them, and you mentioned that most of the time all stem out of one trauma that probably happened at the age of 5.
All quite a few traumas, yeah. So
the question is, through hypnosis, you take that person to that moment, to that trauma, and then from there, what's possible? Okay,
so I'll kind of talk about what we do. So this research is you know, the latest research out in trauma. We didn't even, in 1999, they did do one experiment in the 40s where they were able to change a trauma memory, but they never were able to replicate it. So it wasn't until 1999 that they were practicing on little rats and shocking their feet and making a neutral sound, which of course triggered a trauma response. And they were actually trying to create a medication that would just dumb down that response. They weren't trying to actually change a memory. But what happened is they were able to inject, it's called a protein blocker into, I think it is, don't quote me on that one, but they were able to basically be able to switch off the response at the time when they played the neutral sound where the rat would freeze. They were able to do something in the brain to stop the rat from freezing. Right. But what they didn't expect was the next time they played the neutral sound, they never had to actually do that again. They never had to keep a chemical going. And what they found was we could actually turn off these or move these implicit memories. So like I said, this is very new research. That was in 1999. So what we found was, so the work that when I teach the more golden thread stuff, it's kind of hypnosis, but like to me, it's kind of trauma-informed therapy, or the latest stuff that's going on. That's why I say it's more backed in neuroscience and research. But the way it really works, and we can do it ourselves, is a lot of traditional or mainstream therapy is based on talking and feeling. So someone will come in, and if there's something's going on with them, they'll talk about it. And that's really fine for explicit memory stuff. You know, it can be helpful with, things that we have happen. But with these memories, it's not helpful, because when that personality comes out and starts talking, and we give them a lot of time, they come out more and more, and it can actually strengthen. So what they found is when a trauma memory opens up and the brain scans to see if you're safe, it'll either upgrade, that memory will get sent out of the brainstem and do this 4-hour journey to being reprocessed, or the memory will strengthen and close back down. But now the key is only a very small amount of time when the brain scans to see if the person is safe. So you imagine, you're with someone and they start getting triggered and this personality comes out, and you're there and you're letting them act out. And then finally they calm down. You actually strengthen that response. So they're going to do it again and again and again. And so I see people that have done therapy for 5 years. The trick is, with this kind of therapy, is that the moment you're triggered, there's a very small window, and it might be only around 90 seconds, where you have to basically flood your brain with feel-good chemicals, whether it's the loving one or whether it's, you know, dopamine, a bit of a hit of laughing. And when we do this, which is called a mismatch experience, and we do it very quickly, the brain assesses and believes that that they're safe now. And so, of course, that memory moves out of the brainstem. The personality is what I call integrated, so it doesn't actually exist anymore. So I deal with alcoholics that are actually what we would call alcoholics. And I had this one guy who came to see me that had been drinking for years. I'll just have a drink. And what we did was what I did was targeted the feeling that he had around giving up, or the feeling that was driving him to the drink. When we integrated that personality, at that time, I don't always take people back, only to learn, but we took him back to being a 2-year-old boy, and he had a really hard, horrific upbringing. But the memory we went, his grandfather, who he loved, was giving him a drink in a gold-rimmed glass. And funnily enough, now he was drinking in the same kind of glass. But when we integrated that personality, meaning we switched that sensation off and that personality was integrated, he didn't drink again. He didn't need to, because it was never him drinking. It was a trauma response. And I'm not saying that's always the way, but what I see in my clinic, because like I said, people come to me when nothing's working. It's to me, it's a daily thing, this kind of story. So the key, it's definitely when you're working with someone, like if you came and had a session with me, it would be, we'd work together for an hour and a half, and I would just get you talking about right now, and I'd watch your eyes, and the minute you switch, boom, close your eyes. Where do you feel it? And I'd make you think about something that will make you laugh, or I'd make you think about someone that you love, or do anything to get you to feel good very quickly. And a lot of people don't like it. And when I teach, so I go and teach a lot of mental health organizations, right? I have to spend at least half a day, at least, speaking about the science behind it and the brain. Because if I said to them, do this technique and it will help people, they won't do it because it's way too easy. It just doesn't, you know, we're so trained that healing has to be a long time and it's hard work and stuff. But literally when we're working with these kind of memories that are playing up, it's literally 90 seconds. So I can have someone that comes in and they have severe, or I work over the computer with people that literally can't leave their room, they're housebound or they're room bound apart from going to toilet, or can't wear clothes and things. And it's instantly, I trigger them instantly. Close your eyes, feel it, throw it away, you know, and think of, if they've told me they've got a cat, think of your cat. Now open your eyes and try really hard to feel it. It'll be gone. Why? Because it was never anxiety or depression. It was a memory that was just firing up and shooting a message down. And so once that memory is out of the brainstem, the feeling goes. And it is really those feelings that are really causing problems in our lives, massive problems. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. So I was going to say, I can give a little exercise. So the difference between a trigger and an emotion is someone actually does do stuff to you and it isn't nice and you get angry, but you can let it go. Do you know what I mean? A trigger is you walk into a room and someone just looks at you and you're angry or you're anxious. That's a trigger. Right. When you have a trigger, so when you have a trigger come up in your body, if you have either someone that you love or something hilarious, I've got something hilariously funny at the moment that I use. I call that a target. If you can start to notice when you're triggered and feel it in your body, if you can get into your body, which gets you out of your head, once you can feel it strong, instantly think of something funny, think of a place you love to be, picture the face of someone that you love and feel it. You might just shift it yourself without having to come to me or somebody else.
Wow, I'm going to try that.
I do it all the time. Yeah. It's, trust me, it'll change your life. Amazing. It'll change your life.
That's amazing. There is something that you call the Simpson protocol. I'm very much interested, and I know that this is a conversation that we still got to learn more about, because we're so attached to this reality and you know what we hear and see and smell and touch.
Yeah.
The Simpson protocol goes beyond that understanding, right? Can you tell us a little?
Yeah. So we'll go on a different tangent. This is something really different and I love it. And it's like one of my favorite sessions that I do. Well, working with anything where we kind of involve the higher or the, you know, more inner wisdom that we have. So the Simpson protocol, all working with something that I call superconscious. Like I said, it's a little bit different to what I was talking about before. Mm-hmm. It's a protocol where we put someone into what we would call like a deeper trance, but I actually call them like an altered state. So, you know, the old school where you actually think about going into a hypnotist and they'll relax you down and you go deeper and deeper. Yeah, we're working that kind of style. But what we're doing is we're accessing what I call superconscious, or what we call superconscious. Now, everything is, we're putting names on things that we don't really understand, right? So superconscious is not something we can touch. No. And it might not even be real, but it's naming something that we're experiencing in the clinic. To me, we've got our conscious mind, you know, the chatterbox. We've got our subconscious mind, which to me is very automated. It's where our automatic behaviors are. And then we've got superconscious. And now this is a part of us that it seems to be something that's been with us always. If you do get into the more spiritual type hypnosis or working into more like the quantum mind type stuff, it's definitely the gateway into working in very powerful ways. But there seems to be a part of us that knows exactly why we're doing everything. You know, it can give me the answers to absolutely anything, and it can make incredible changes. So what I tend to do with people is I do the trauma stuff and we shift the memories, and then we do some really good work with superconscious. And so with that, with SP, you can use voice, but we set up a yes, no finger. That's the easiest way to start hooking up with superconscious. And once we've got that communication going, we just ask questions. We can ask questions and ask things be shifted incredibly quickly and easy. And with that kind of hypnosis, it's really interesting because people can spend, you know, 20 years meditating and learning to get their mind quiet. But when you're working with someone that, you know, works with these different states all the time, we actually can put you into these beautiful, you know, deep altered states. And once we're there, we can even put a code word on them. So we can ask your mind to map exactly what's going on in your mind and put a word on it. Like we put the words peace, deep, and high. And what that means is when you're not with me and when you go home, all you need to do is close your eyes and take yourself to, you know, peace, deep, high. Your mind knows what it means. It's been there before. It's mapped it. And it means you can instantly access those states yourself at home. So yeah, superconscious, sometimes I call it the decision maker. It's almost like, you know, there's times in our life where our mind or our body has decided something that maybe at that time, it's kind of like what we were talking about before, but at that time it was good and safe and healthy for us. But, you know, now we might be 20 years older and we might be safe and in a good place, but that program, it's still kind of stuck. So when we work with something like superconscious, I'll say, hey, superconscious, you know, they're having this thing happen, you know, they're feeling quite down. Is this something we can work with today? And if it's, yeah, and I'm like, sweet, well, I don't need to know why it is, and he doesn't need to know why, but you do know why. So I want you to go back and work it out. When it's done, let me know. You know, we can even go deeper because, you know, if people can go into quite good altered states, we can get superconscious to chat. You know, some people might call it a higher self. If we even go to a different level again, where we can get a lot of inner wisdom. And the interesting thing is when you get to those different parts of us, you know, when we're working with normal hypnosis and you ask me a question, I would say, I'm doing this because I am eating to feel safe. You know, that would be subconscious. Now, working with superconscious and sometimes higher self, when you ask a question, it would say, Justine is doing this because she experienced this when she was young, and this is now a protective mechanism. So we're definitely working with, we'll never know actually what everything is, you know, because the mind is so expansive, you know, but when we work with this kind of trance, it's definitely very different. And sometimes, you know, someone might be talking to me and bringing out, it sounds crazy, but to me, I like to think about things as spiritual, but things as the mind. You know, I have clients bringing out information to me that there's no way they'd never know about. You know, they'll be talking to me, and a lot of my friends can do this now. And like I said, I like to see everything all, and my mind is so open now that it's just whatever happens. It's pretty exciting, you know, with our mind, but it is incredibly powerful for change. So when we're working with superconscious or these deeper states, amazing change happens. And like I said, I do the Simpson protocol on everybody. If someone comes in and they're not very open-minded, I never want to influence their belief system. So I always keep, and that's how I train my students, we always keep in line with where a person is at. But it doesn't mean we can't work this way. We just work this way in a way that suits, you know, suits the person that's with us. But it's definitely an amazingly powerful session and incredibly fun for me, because I just go into trance with the person. I literally getting paid to trance out and feel amazing, and you know, it's a beautiful process.
I kind of get, you know, from what you're talking about, lately I've been talking to people with ADHD, and I've been saying that I like meditating, and starting my day with meditation put me in a space that actually getting more clear. And I do actually compare with the fact that sometimes in life we get so geared up in trying to resolve things that we are in that sort of hypnosis state where we are either in the past thinking how bad it is and we have to do something about it, or in that anxiety mode thinking about what is going to happen in the future and what to do, or what is it that we have to do. So it's funny enough, it's like hypnosis. We are hypnotized with whatever is happening around us. And but ADHD people seem to have difficulties on letting, you know, thoughts to slow down. But one thing that when you're talking about superconscious, I can actually see that when I'm in that state of calmness or happiness or feeling good, inspiration comes, information that I probably didn't even think about it. I mean, I'm an architect, and I've been working in this process of design, which requires, you know, that sort of state. If you are in a bad mood, you're not designing.
No, you're
so
and
hypnosis. Now that you're talking about this altered state, and I'm thinking about ADHD, hypnosis could help people actually to get to that state where you begin to realize and notice that yes, there is that communication that we have access when we get to a more clear, relaxed, open space.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. And I'm with you with the ADHD as well. So I do speak a lot on ADHD. I find with the Simpson protocol, I always struggled with keeping my mind quiet. I would have been what you called incredibly, what hypnosis people would have called hard work, analytical, very much wanting to be in control. Like it took me many years before I trusted someone enough to, you know, to let go. But doing that kind of the more Simpson protocol style, where you're really out of your body and experiencing something different, for me was magic. So I can go into trance almost instantly. If I want to close my eyes and go off, I'm gone, which is almost unheard of. And and like I said, medicate for ADHD when I've got to get work done, you know, when I got to focus and concentrate, and I've got things that I don't want to do, you know. So very ADHD mind, but definitely hypnosis. And the other thing with what I was talking about with the trauma stuff is when you do have ADHD, everything is heightened. So if someone has anxiety and ADHD, 50% stronger, at least 50 times stronger. They talk about it. ADHD heightens, you know, trauma, it heightens anxiety, it heightens depression, it heightens other disorders. So any kind of work, ADHD itself, I don't see it as something wrong with us. Our mind just works in a different way. And that's why the medication that we get given doesn't alter our brain. It just gives us a hit of dopamine, whereas other things alter. Right. So the ADHD mind is just a creative mind that wants to be stimulated and wants to learn and wants to be out there doing many things, which doesn't always suit our life. But if you do have ADHD and you do your work, you know, like you said, you do the meditation, work on your trauma, work on your stuff, life is going to get amazingly better. The ADHD is, like I said, I don't see it as a mental illness or something wrong. It's there, and it's a creative mind. So for me, it's about utilizing that mind and creating a life that fits your mind, not trying to fit into a life that's just not going to work. You know, that's quite hard. But definitely things like hypnosis and yeah. So of course, meditation fires up the frontal lobe, and ADHD, when you see brain scans, it's the frontal lobe can shut down and overwhelm, whereas other people get pumped up. We go into not getting stuff done that we're supposed to, you know. So anything that boosts blood flow and good stuff to that part of our brain is going to help. Yeah, meditation, hypnosis, and really getting to understand ourselves. And like you said, you know, hypnosis, it's been used, it's really interesting when you get into the dream state, and hypnosis has been used through all of time with artists. You know, most people's inspiration comes as we're going to sleep or as we're waking up, and that's hypnosis. That's what we kind of work with in trance. And so of course, when our nervous system is calm and relaxed, our mind gears us towards opportunity, connection, wanting to be out there. When our nervous system is wired, it closes us in. Even our pupils get small. We disconnect from people. We want to hide. Our creativity and our ability to problem solve shuts down. So anything that causes our nervous system to calm and relax is going to make us bring in good stuff. It's going to make us more creative. When they talk about the law of attraction, when you learn about the nervous system, the best thing you can do is work on your stuff and get your nervous system to calm down. Because if you're wanting to create a future, which even financially has this new house and this boat and all this kind of stuff, but your nervous system is wired, you only get to see a small amount of information per second in front of you. And if you're wired, you're only going to be pointed out things that are there for safety and survival. You only see a small amount of what's around you in real life. The rest that you see are memories. So you might drive every day into town and see the same shop. And then one day someone might say to you, that shop hasn't been there for 2 years. And then you'll drive the next day and realize that shop's gone and there's another shop. And it's because a lot of what you see in your reality are memories. You're showing either stuff to keep you safe or stuff to grow and move forward. So if you can do things to calm your nervous system down, your mind will open up and start showing you, pointing out jobs or people that are going to get you where you want to go, which is where hypnosis comes in too. Picture what you want in the future, visualize it. And if your nervous system is calm, your mind will move you there. But if your nervous system is wired, it can't show you. It's only going to point out things that will keep you safe. It will point out the person that looks like, you know, a family member that hurt you when you were young. Run away from that person. It'll, you know, it'll point out sounds and stuff, but it won't move you where you want to go. It's not until you've calmed you know, you're in that space, you're in that good space, will your mind work for you. And once you're there, there's nothing you can't do. I remember one time I was like, next year I want to be, it was pre-COVID. I think about 6 months, I was like, I want to be on a plane and I want to do this. And it wasn't until I was there that I was like, hell, it was pretty quick. Do you know what I mean? This stuff is quick. As long as, you know, you keep your mind in that place, which is what you're doing with the meditation in the morning. Yeah. You're putting yourself into that place. And even if you visualize what it is that you want, so your mind's got something to focus on all day, you'll get there. I know we're talking a long time.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Carry on. It's all right. Yeah. I get it. Well, that amazing, Janine. I love the way, Justine. Sorry, I love the way you explain all this stuff about hypnotherapy and hypnotism. It really clarifies a lot, and I love this conversation about superconscious. I believe that you know, we all should learn a little bit more about that, because it's something that, well, it seems to be available for all of us. Only that we need to learn to open that portal somehow, right? That state of mind that will allow us to because it's about allowing. Really, it's not forcing. It's not getting there. It's more like in that state of mind that would allow us to get access to all the things that that are connected to us, the things that we're passionate about, or we're purposeful about, or we have an intention. And it's super amazing. How can we get hold of you? You are, can you do work remotely or?
Yeah. So I pretty much work online, and that was one of my creations in my mind. I wanted to be able to travel and work and hop in a caravan and be at a beach, and you know, that's my office. So I'm very so everything I do is online. So I work with people all around the world. You can just find me on it's on there, the justineleit.com. And what I tend to do is, if I don't have like a booking system where, you know, you can book an appointment and you're going to see me. What I like to do is just to catch up with people a little bit, you know, and just get people to, you know, I just want to meet someone and see if we click. And usually it's just to, you know, someone might, if it's in New Zealand, they'll just give me a call. And most of the time it's just when do you want it? Because a lot of people that come to see me have watched things or seen things. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's like getting a bit of that connection. And then the way I work, just because I do mostly trained people, is I tend to only see people once. I do a really good, it's really bad, but I call it a slam session. but that's where we kind of just get in and do the work. There's no mucking around. It's like, start talking to me, close your eyes, we're going to shift stuff, and we're going to do it as quickly as possible, you know, because you've been this way for 20 or 30 years. Like, I'm not going to sit and talk to you about all the things that you've been through. You know, that's someone else's job. It's not mine. We're just going to get in and do some really good work. And it's usually about an hour and a half long. If people do want an SP session after, of course, they come back and we do like the cool super conscious stuff. But generally, if I'm working with people that are, you know, got quite a lot of issues, I only see them once, and we do some really, really, really good work. But like I said, this new stuff we're doing with what it's actually called memory reconsolidation, which is what I was talking about earlier. It is truly life changing. It's just the stuff I see every day in my clients and my students. It's life changing. And like I said, it doesn't take a long time. It's literally, you just hook up for a session and we just get some really good work done. But it's so you just message me. But definitely the super conscious stuff for people that are wanting to delve into the parts of the mind or the inner mind that has a lot of amazing wisdom, and you know, getting hooked up. Once again, I'll just do a session on that and put the code words, you know, put peace, deep and high on you and hook you up with your super conscious, and then off you go, you know.
Wow. I'm very, very much interested, very much. But it's been awesome, Justine. It's been wonderful speaking with you and all the knowledge and information that you have shared with us. Thank you very much for being with us. And well, I invite everybody to we're gonna have available all the links for